Rowan being torn apart by the Hyde to Mayor Walker's hit-and-run murder and Principal Weems' shocking betrayal, Wednesday is packed with brutal twists and bloody endings. Let's break down every single death in the series so far. Starting with Rowan Laszlo, he's one of the first casualties that kicks off the whole murder mystery, and his death really sets the tone for the horror comedy vibe of the series. Rowan was a student at Nevermore, a telekinetic kid who could move stuff with his mind, but he got tangled up in some dark prophecies about the school. So how did he die? Well, he was brutally attacked, with his chest clawed open multiple times by a monstrous creature known as the Hyde, which is basically a shape-shifting beast that looks like a mix between a werewolf and a nightmare. And who killed him? It was Tyler Galpin in his Hyde form, but Tyler wasn't acting alone because he was being controlled and manipulated by the mastermind, Laurel Gates, who posed as the botany teacher Marilyn Thornhill throughout the season. This all happened in the woods near Nevermore Academy, right after Wednesday had a vision of Rowan's fate and tried to intervene, but the monster spared her and vanished into the night. Because of this, Wednesday initially thought Rowan might have faked his death or something weirder was afoot, and it fueled her obsession with investigating the Academy's secrets since she couldn't shake the feeling that more trouble was brewing. Now, moving on to Mayor Noble Walker, his death adds a layer of intrigue because it shifts the focus from the school to the nearby town of Jericho, showing how the outcasts and normies are all interconnected in this web of history and grudges. Mayor Walker was a normie, meaning a regular human without powers, and he served as Jericho's leader, but he started digging into old crimes that linked back to the Addams family and Nevermore. So, what took him out? He was fatally hit by a car in a deliberate hit and run, which left him dying on the street without much chance for survival. And when he was put on life support in this hospital, someone unplugged his support. And the killer? It was orchestrated by Laurel Gates again, the same villain pulling strings behind the scenes, because the mayor was getting too close to uncovering her family's twisted past and her own plans for revenge. This gruesome event unfolded outside the old house in Jericho, where a boy connected to a past Addams scandal once lived, right as the mayor was piecing together clues with the local sheriff. Because Wednesday had been poking around similar leads, his death made her realize the danger was spreading beyond the academy gates. And it heightened the stakes, since it proved the killer wasn't just targeting students, but anyone who threatened the big scheme. Shifting gears to Dr. Valerie Kinbutt, her demise feels particularly chilling because she was supposed to be a safe, helpful figure in this chaotic world, yet she became another victim in the escalating violence. Dr. Kinbutt was the local therapist in Jericho, treating outcast students like Wednesday and Tyler, and she started suspecting something off about her patients' behaviors. How did she meet her end? She was viciously attacked and mauled by the Hyde monster, torn apart in a brutal fashion that left her office a bloody mess. Once more, it was Tyler Galpin as the Hyde that was responsible, acting under direct orders from Laurel Gates to silence the doctor before she could expose the manipulation and the creature's identity. The attack happened right in her therapy office in Jericho, shortly after a session where she confronted Tyler about his fragile state and the odd influences in his life. And because Wednesday had been seeing Dr. Kinbutt for mandatory sessions, this death hit close to home, making Wednesday question her own visions and alliances, since she arrived too late to save her and initially blamed the wrong person, which added to the emotional turmoil and drove her deeper into the investigation. Then there's Goody Addams, who stands out because her death isn't part of the present-day killings, but a historical one that echoes through the story, tying Wednesday to her family's ancient roots and the origins of the conflict. Goody was Wednesday's ancestor from the 1600s, a witch who fought against the Pilgrim settlers persecuting outcasts, and she appears as a ghostly guide in Wednesday's visions. The way she died is a bit murky, but she sacrificed herself to heal Wednesday during a fierce battle. Who killed her? The blame falls on Joseph Crackstone, the fanatic pilgrim leader who led the charge against outcasts like Goody, burning their meeting house and trying to wipe them out, though Goody managed to escape and strike back before her end. This all took place in the old meeting house in what would become Jericho, amid the flames and chaos of the Pilgrims' raid. Because Goody's spirit helps Wednesday navigate the modern threats, her death serves as a bridge between past and present, reminding us that the hatred between normies and outcasts has deep roots, and it motivates Wednesday to embrace her psychic abilities fully, since without Goody's guidance, she might not have survived her own brushes with danger. Principal Larissa Weems, her death is one of the most shocking because she's a central authority figure at Nevermore, and losing her shakes the foundation of the school. Weems was the shape-shifting principal who clashed with Wednesday but ultimately tried to protect the students and uncover the truth. What caused her death? She was poisoned with a deadly dose of nightshade, injected straight into her neck via a syringe, which killed her almost instantly. And the culprit was none other than Laurel Gates, aka Marilyn Thornhill. Laurel Gates did it personally in a desperate bid to cover her tracks after Weems confronted her about the murders and the Hyde's rampage. The confrontation and killing occurred in Weems' office at Nevermore Academy, during a tense standoff where Weems thought she had the upper hand but underestimated Laurel's ruthlessness. Because this happened toward the end of the season, it propelled Wednesday into the final showdown, forcing her to rally her friends and face the villain head-on, and it left a void at the school that hinted at more changes to come. Next up is Donovan Galpin, the former sheriff of Jericho and father of Tyler Galpin, the Hyde from Season 1. His death hits hard early in Season 2 because he's been digging into something dangerous that affects all outcasts, including his son, who's locked up at Willow Hill Psychiatric Hospital. So how did he die? Donovan was brutally attacked by a flock of crows that pecked out his eyes and tore him apart, leaving his body in a gruesome state. And who was behind it? The killer is Judy Stonehurst, an avian outcast who can control birds and uses her murder of crows to silence anyone getting too close to her secrets. This happened off-screen, but Wednesday finds his body in Jericho, likely near a remote location like the woods or quiet street, since he was investigating with his old partner, Carl Bradbury. Because Donovan reached out to Wednesday for help before his death, his murder kicks her investigation into high gear, and it makes her realize the threat is bigger than just Nevermore, pushing her to chase leads about a mysterious figure named Lois. Next, we have Carl Bradbury, a private investigator and ex-cop who used to work with Donovan. His death sets the stage for the season's mystery and shows just how ruthless the villain is. Carl was snapping photos of a cheating couple in Jericho when he got caught in the crosshairs of the same deadly force that took out Donovan. How did he go? Like Donovan, he was trapped in his van and savagely killed by a swarm of crows that gouged out his eyes, leaving him dead in a horrific scene. Judy Stonehurst, the avian, was the one who unleashed her birds on him because he and Donovan were poking around the LOIS program, a secret experiment to steal outcast powers and give them to normies. This murder took place in Carl's van, parked somewhere in Jericho, possibly near Camp Jericho or a shady part of town where he was staking out his targets. Since Wednesday stumbles across his crime scene and gets arrested briefly for being there, Carl's death pulls her deeper into the case, and it connects to Donovan's because both were chasing the same dangerous truth, making her suspect a cover-up at Willow Hill. Moving on to Marilyn Thornhill, also known as Laurel Gates. Her death is a big deal because she was the main villain in Season 1, and her return in Season 2 feels like a blast from the past. Marilyn, the former Nevermore teacher who manipulated Tyler into becoming a Hyde, is brought back to Willow Hill to help with his treatment, but it goes south fast. So, what happened? She was impaled through the torso by Tyler's hide claws after she freed him during a chaotic breakout at the hospital. A brutal end driven by his resentment for her control over him. And who did it? Tyler himself transformed into the Hyde, turned on his former master because he felt betrayed and wanted to break free from her influence. This all went down in the halls of Willow Hill Psychiatric Hospital during a riot caused by Wednesday and Uncle Fester cutting the power, which let all the patients, including Tyler, loose. Because Marilyn's death removes a key player from Season 1, it shifts the focus to new threats, and it leaves Wednesday grappling with the consequences of her actions, since freeing the patients led to this bloody outcome. Then there's Dr. Rachel Fairburn, the chief psychiatrist at Willow Hill, whose death is one of the grisliest in the season and shows how even the seemingly good guys aren't safe. Dr. Fairburn was trying to rehabilitate Tyler and brought Marilyn to the hospital, thinking it might help, but she got caught in the chaos of the breakout. How did she die? She was eaten by Slurp, a brain-hungry zombie accidentally created by Pugsley Adams, who chowed down on her brain in a savage attack. And the killer? Slurp, who was loose in Willow Hill after the power outage unlocked all the cells, went on a rampage and targeted Fairburn as she tried to escape with Augusta Stonehurst. This happened in her office at Willow Hill, where she was hiding during the mayhem, hoping to get out alive. Because Fairburn seemed like a potential villain at first, her death flips the script, and it makes Wednesday question who's really behind the experiments, since Fairburn was just a pawn in a bigger game, pushing her to uncover the true mastermind. Lastly, we've got Augustus Stonehurst, a former Nevermore professor and the founder of the LOIS program, whose death ties directly to the dark experiments at Willow Hill. Augustus was a normie who went mad trying to harness outcast powers, and by season 2, he's a mute, wheelchair-bound patient at the hospital he once ran. So how did he meet his end? Slurp, the same zombie who ate Fairburn, devoured his brain too, but not before saying, "Hello, old friend," hinting at a shared past. Slurp, who seemed to have a personal grudge, possibly because Augustus experimented on him when he was a Nevermore student, maybe even causing his death years ago. This took place in Willow Hill, likely in or near Fairburn's office, during the same chaotic breakout where all the patients ran wild. Because Slurp's cryptic words suggest a deeper connection to Augustus and the LOIS program, his death raises new questions, and it drives Wednesday to dig into the hospital's secrets, since the experiments are at the heart of the season's mystery. Tying it all together, these deaths create a chilling chain of events that propel Wednesday's missions. Each death builds on the last, ramping up the tension and pushing Wednesday closer to a showdown. And with the show's knack for blending dark humor with heart-pounding thrills, these moments keep you hooked, because they're not just about death, but about Wednesday's growth as she faces betrayal, loss, and her own limits. Season 2, Part 1, leaves us craving answers, and I can't wait to see where it goes next.